stalking and every other form of violence.
Now, young people are very versatile, especially the Gen Zs of nowadays. There's some twist to normal life. For example, I like a lady. Ladies will put, quote unquote, they'll put it on them that there's this word that if you love me, then even if I say no, you should come countless times. So you should come countless times so that I will know that you're serious.
Pressurizing.
When you like someone and she said no, she didn't want to. There was like, I don't want to do so that I don't go look cheap. Stuff like that. Stuff like that. Stuff like that. So how would you now know you are not abusing the person in the process? Because if you like someone, you want to check up on that person regularly. You want to know how far. I've seen scenario where a guy goes to a girl's house. He just stands at the gate or parked at the gate and waiting. Okay, I want to see. Just want to surprise. Is that stalking? Can you call that stalking?
So usually stalking has a bit of coercion in it. Now, all forms of violence have some form of coercion, and it's usually against the person's will. Now, if a guy comes after a lady and then she says, "Oh, I'm not interested," it's okay to let her be. Perhaps she would reconsider.
No, but if you don't push further, she might not reconsider.
Well, sometimes
ladies, you're a lady.
Pressurizing doesn't actually breed so much good. Sometimes I know people say, "I don't want to appear cheap," just like you rightly mentioned. But again, they go back and think about it, and then they give a yes or a no. But there is a healthy way of trying to woo someone, and there is an unhealthy way of trying to woo someone.
Okay.
Stalking is everywhere you turn, you see this person. This person has countless pictures of you, even without your knowledge. Perhaps even without you saying hello or hi. Sometimes you don't even know them.
Wow.
But they have a whole compendium. They have your whole history written down, and you're not even aware. That's one of the dangers with the internet too these days, because stalking is encouraged somehow via social media.
Now, in case you're just tuning in, listener, is the program Youth Arena show on Armed Forces Radio 107.7 FM, and we have Gladys Emmanuel from Tabita Empowerment Center, and they're here to tell us about gender-based violence. So far, we've talked about definition about gender-based violence, what gender-based violence is all about, and she has also mentioned types of gender-based violence. Now, Gladys, what are the contributing factors in gender-based violence?
Yes.
Youth is a very sensitive pandemic, and at the same time, young people they are like people that suffer most of this stuff because they are young. Because something you experience from young age, you become used to it. So, what are the contributing factors to this?
So, number one is poverty. Now, poverty is one of the major contributory factors, especially in this part of the world. I'll give you an illustration. Now, we have a little girl who perhaps was defiled by her landlord. No, I'm just giving.
Okay.
So you have maybe a little girl who was defiled by the landlord or the landlord's brother, and then they want to take. Of course, the first step is to go to the police to report, and then you go to a government-owned hospital to run tests, after which you proceed to court and all of that. Now, they might want to press charges, but they would not have the financial wherewithal to press charges. And then you see money changing hands sometimes, or you'll be asked, okay, you need to open XYZ file, you need to transport yourself to this location, and they are handicapped. So at the end of the day, you might hear something like, oh, she was defiled. They should be in court, but the family says, you know what, we do not want to press charges anymore. We just want to step back for our own sanity, for our own. There are lots of explanations, and they try to rationalize these things and say, oh, for the peace of the family, for to save the family name and all of that, we would not want to go any further. But in the real sense of it, if you check it, is the fact that there are no finances to pursue this court. Litigation doesn't come cheap.
Absolutely.
Yes. Going through investigation with the police and all other agencies, getting the samples, those things don't come cheap. So, in the absence of finances, they would not. We would just keep seeing the cases rise, because perhaps that perpetrator will be like, well, I got away with this one. Chances are that I could also get away with another one, and then the cycle continues.
Okay.
Another contributory factor is culture.
Oh,
Yes.
culture.
Yes, I'm from the eastern speaking part of the country,
Okay.
and there's some cultural beliefs or practices, not in all parts of the eastern, but some cultural practices that are against equity, they're against fairness, against justice too, and sometimes they're targeted at women and girls. We see things like harmful widowhood practices. You hear, oh, a woman's husband just died, and she's still trying to grieve, and the husband perhaps is still in the mortuary, and the next thing you see, the in-laws rushing, and they want to take the entire properties, and then they subject her and her children to countless. I've been tagged countless times on Instagram. Come and see what's happening here, XYZ state, and all of that. You people need to step in, you need to do this, you need to do that. So these are some of the contributory factors. Culture, aside the widowhood practices, we also have the fact that sometimes in some northern states in the country, young girls are forced into marriage.
Not only in the north,
some northern parts, and of course other parts too of the country, young girls are forced into marriage. They're forced into marriage because, well, this person, she is going to be, I wouldn't call it married to, because under the Child's Rights Act, the child is not supposed to be married.
Absolutely.
This person that she's forcefully joined with is able to financially cater for her family, is able to take care of their needs, or perhaps that little girl is being used as a repayment of some debts that her parents have acquired or accrued over a period of time. So this is another contributory factor to gender-based violence. Then we have dismissive attitude.
Okay.
What does dismissive attitude mean? There is physical violence ongoing. Perhaps we step out of the studio now, and then you see maybe this lady seriously attacking this young man, or this young man seriously attacking this lady, and what do we say? Doesn't concern us, so let's be going. We don't know.
They put her for inside.
Exactly. We don't know what has transpired, but let's just keep going. Sometimes you hear it's family matter. Sometimes you hear it's a domestic matter. They'll settle themselves out, but in the real sense of the word, we are actually supposed to wade in. The authorities are supposed to get in. Sometimes people have complained that, oh, I go to XYZ quarters to attempt to get help or support or assistance after I've been violated, and they are disappointed at the end of the day because that which they sought they did not get. Sometimes they turn back and say, just go settle it, it's a family matter. That notwithstanding, we still have some people, some agencies, some organizations like NAPTIP and FIDA, who of course are advancing the cause of women and girls and trying to break stereotypes and just eliminate gender-based violence, but we still have dismissive attitude in some parts or many parts of the country.
Okay. Now, there's another twist now. How would you know as a human being or as a girl, as a guy, how would you know if you have been abused gender-based violence?
You've suffered gender-based violence.
How do you know you've suffered?
Funny enough.
Some people might not know because maybe it has happened between parents and they take it as a normal thing, over time.
I'm sorry, I missed out. One of the contributory factors to is vicious cycle.
Which is?
You see it happen before, you
it's
assume it's a
thing.
norm, and then you keep it going. So I see maybe parents or an uncle or an auntie who every now and then it's World War II in their house, and then I say, it's normal.
It's a normal thing to be the lady, it's a normal thing to be the guy.
Yes, it's a normal thing to be very abusive and toxic, and so we keep it moving. So back to your initial question, how do you know you have been abused? Now, unfortunately, some people growing up were abused without even knowing. It was only after growing up with information advocacy, then they realize that they're being abused. Now, I'll take it in two bits.
Okay.
The law recognizes anyone below the ages of 18 as a minor or as a child. Now, such a person, one, cannot give consent to certain things such as sexual activity. They should not be married off. They should not engage in certain contracts, and marriage, of course, is a contract. Now, if it's an adult, well, they can give their consent, but if something is now done against your will, you're coerced, you're forced into doing something, or you're threatened into doing something. You see certain ladies coming with, I've been raped, and then you ask, some people ask, how come? Didn't you shout? Didn't you? But if you look at the background story, or get the background story, you now hear that, oh, I was threatened that if I did XYZ, then I would maybe lose an eye or lose a friend or family member, so I just had to comply. So how do you know you've been abused? If you have been made to do something, something harmful has been done to you, not because you consented, but because you were coerced to do that, you have faced violence.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, for a guy, you know, it's not common with guys. So as a guy, how will I know if I've suffered gender-based violence?
The truth of the matter is, we actually have so many men and boys who are going through violence.
Really?
But
I'm hearing this for the first time.
Yes, but because of society's structure of the male gender, you're supposed to be masculine, you're supposed to be macho, you're not supposed to act weak and all of that. So they just put up that and they keep it moving. But the truth of the matter is, most men or boys have been violated, have been abused. The most common is sexual abuse, unfortunately.
For men?
Yes, for men.
I feel the one that is common is vocal abuse.
Verbal abuse.
Verbal abuse.
Okay, for most boys actually growing up, you hear that they've been.
Aren't your mates doing this? Is that not? You know, our moms then.
Yes, that's a form of abuse, verbal abuse. But for most boys, especially in schools or some communities, even religious settings, sometimes we get complaints like he was just violated and all of that. Now, prior to 2015, I'm going to digress a bit into law. Now, prior to 2015, there was no law that really recognized that a boy or a man could be raped. But yes, with the enactment of the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act of 2015, otherwise known as VAPE Act, now it recognizes that they could be raped, and then it doesn't also restrict the offense of rape to only penetration of a certain part of the body.
Oh, really?
Yes, it now recognizes that there is also through the mouth, any opening in the body, and all of that. So you see that there is a more comprehensive approach to this particular offense. So as a man or boy, you check if this checklist or this analysis I just gave, if you fall into this category, or like Omops just said, verbal abuse, then you're definitely going through even economic deprivation. We have men who are being deprived from their monies, from their finances.
So you can hold our bosses that are not paying us.
That's what you mean. That's what I mean. But we have men and boys who are being deprived. Sometimes people are married and you have a spouse who is overly controlling. And then for peace to reign, the other party just says, you know what, okay, let's just do your bidding so that everyone is at peace and all. So you see that maybe he used to have XYZ business before he got married, but right now he has had to cut that off because his wife or his girlfriend or fiancé does not like that form of business. So at some point he might have to leave off her. And of course, you know what's the ripple effect of that. You annoy her and then she collects the little allowance, or you annoy him and then he retrieves the little allowance that you're entitled to.
Now, let's talk about challenges in curbing gender-based violence. You know, what are the major challenges in curbing gender-based violence?
So, first and first, I'm sure someone thinking out there will say, well, challenges doesn't concern us. It sure concerns everybody. It is a collective responsibility. Now, you wouldn't say because Gladys works in the NGO space, so curbing gender-based violence should be her everyday routine. No.
Okay.
That chief in that village, that women leader in that ethnic group, that market woman leader, that youth leader, that age grade leader, that religious leader, and you just name it, every traditional gatekeeper, you and I, the little boy and girl on the streets, the teacher in the school, the banker, the medical doctor, the policeman, it is our collective responsibility. So we need to collaborate or work together with organizations and structures that are set out to eliminate gender-based violence. So it's not just we going out to do campaign. Parents can begin from the home front, because one thing that is very common, in fact, where most people experience gender-based violence from, or subtle forms of gender-based violence, are actually in the homes. You see something like, so because I'm a girl, I go to work, maybe come back home, I'm expected to go straight into the kitchen and cook for my brother, my whoever is at home. But it's okay for the male figure to just sit down, cross his leg, read the newspaper front and back, watch TV, analyze football, and then wait for dinner to be
It's
served.
actually not bad.
Now that's the problem. That's the problem.
Okay.
Because all of these things are things that we learned, we inherited.
Yeah.
But
when you mention of culture.
yes, these are some of the things that we've inherited. But in the true sense of it, it shouldn't be. It's supposed to be delegated responsibility, sort of. Everyone should get involved. Then another challenge we have is the lack of implementation of our laws. We have so many legislations in Nigeria.
Beautiful ones.
There is the 1999 Constitution of Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. There's the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. There's a Child Rights Act. There's a Criminal Code. There's a Penal Code. Just you name it. There are even international legislations. We have Convention for the Elimination of all forms of discrimination against women. We have the African Charter for Human People's Rights. There are just so many of them. Although Nigeria is a signatory to lots of them, but Nigeria hasn't embraced them into her local legislation. So what is there is there's so many texts, and to be fair, if we implement all of these laws, we'll discover that our society will be better. The rate of gender-based violence will be reduced. But unfortunately, all we have is text and no implementation. That is why we have there's a national dashboard for reporting cases of gender-based violence.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
It was established by Federal Ministry for Women Affairs. It's a European Union funded project, a spotlight initiative. Now, if you check that dashboard, what you see is it has divided the various forms of violence. So there's physical, and then there's verbal, there is economic deprivation, there's FGM, there's forced marriage, and then we have fatality, which is those who die. Now you see those charts are really high, but then conviction rate is very low or non-existent. So you have maybe about 100 cases recorded in the month of May, but then conviction rate is 0. So you see that there are laws available, there are strategies in place, but implementation is a biggest challenge in this part of the world, and that's why we keep having these cases increase. Then one of the challenges, just like the contributory factors, is also poverty. And the culture of silence. Now, I'll give you a story. I like to give this story because I witnessed firsthand. I got to work very early that particular day. I stood in the office just trying to reminisce and clear my head before the day starts. And now the way the office is structured, I can see what's happening outside, but you can't see what's happening inside. So I stood there, it was locked from inside, and I saw this woman. It looked like she had just been battered. She was in front of the office, and then she was like, I'm going inside to report. And I could see people gather, about 3-4 of them gathered around her saying, and please don't go inside there, don't go and report, don't go and report. Long and short of the story is that they were able to persuade her and she left with her. She never made that complaint, and we never took record of that. Someone would have said, but she was in front of your office, why didn't you do anything? Now, this is it. So long as someone is above the age of 18, you cannot coerce them
Absolutely.
into getting help.
Mm.
You cannot coerce them into getting support. What you can do is you can assist them until they are ready to get support or they are ready to get the necessary help.
So you depend on the individual now.
Yes.
If he or she is ready to get support.
Yes,
Wow.
except we are able to establish that that person is mentally unstable.
Okay.
Now, if someone's mentally unstable, you know that they cannot make decisions for themselves.
Absolutely.
So at that point, a third party can wade in.
Come
The
in.
same also applies if it's a child.
But can love make you to forget about or make you not even recognizing that man, I'm being abused here? Yeah?
That is why most people remain in abusive relationships or marriages
Oh, love is one of the major
for
causes.
15 to 20 years, and then they get out and they ask themselves, what have I been doing there?
Love.
Yes, exactly.
In the name of
You
love.
know what they say, love is blind,
Yeah.
right?
Is it really blind?
They kind of cover their eyes towards